Hello again, everyone, and welcome to, well, I think maybe the first of my mural concepts that I've released out on your YouTube. This was right when I was first approached about doing a few murals at the place that I teach art right now. And I'd never done a mural before, so I went very enthusiastically into my mural concepts, and I made quite a few just for fun. There's a few of them that are definitely not appropriate for the setting that I was asked to paint murals in, but I was just too excited, so I went all for it, creating mural concepts. And this was one of the more simple mural concepts I went with, because the guy I created is quite abstract, so he was fun to draw. He was very fun to draw. Cthulhu-esque is how I would describe him. And now I'm just using my pencil, probably a 2B or an HB is usually what I use at a stage like this. I'm just lightly drawing in my wall. I'm doing a monster breaking forth from a cinder block wall, so I wanted to make sure that my cinder blocks were all nice and evenly spaced. That's why you saw my ruler out there a little bit ago. You want to get your lines proportional, because that's how your piece is going to look nice. Even with such an abstracted monster, you want your proportional cinder blocks to balance that out. And now I'm just tracing in my fingers that are reaching over these cinder block walls. As you'll notice, the fingers don't start exactly where the wall is, but they arch a little bit over top of where the wall is. And that's how you make it look like they're coming out from behind the wall instead of just being pasted on top of the wall. You need that little arch of the fingers to make it look more three-dimensional. I'm drawing in some darker lines now that I know that I've got my cinder blocks spaced evenly. I can darken those lines up a little bit so that you can see them better. I haven't done many pieces where you guys watch me do the pencil drawings, the pencil part of the work. Pencil is hard to see a lot of the times on video like this. You have to draw quite darkly. Oh, see, I said pencil, but it's actually an ink pen now I'm seeing. That's why you can suddenly see the line so much easier, is I'm using an ink pen for this portion. I wanted to give it sort of a graphic feel, you know? So I did a nice hard ink line drawing for the edges here. Now I'm erasing all my pencil lines. You don't want to leave those graphite lines in there. Sometimes you can see them through the watercolor, because that's what I'm using today is watercolor. I think I break out my colored India inks at the very end for some brighter tones, more vibrant color, but I'll be sure to list my materials down below, and there'll be a materials card at the beginning of the video too, so you guys can see what I used more than I can right now. Oh, that's the place where you see the thickness of the wall as it recedes back. It's going to get a little bit darker and be lighter toward the front. It depends on the situation, really, but there's always going to be a fade, either from dark to light or light to dark, on any object that has depth. And you can look out for that fade in anything that you're drawing. There's going to be some sort of depth representation of a fade. Sorry, that wasn't terribly clear. I'll have to work on that. And now I'm putting in my shadows. See the shadows in the finger? You want to make sure that your fingers then don't look like they're just stickers set upon the stone. You want them to look like dimensional fingers, so you put in that shadow work. Oh, you should have seen the concept sketch for this one. It was so random. I'll see if I can stick it up here. It's just some squiggly pencil lines. That was my concept sketch for this one. And I knew what I wanted it to look like, so I can look at these little squiggles and see how it's supposed to look. But for you guys, it probably just looks like a bunch of squiggles. This was actually based off of a digital piece that I did years and years ago. I'll see if I can throw that picture up there too. Oof, digital art. This was before I got back into physically drawing pieces like I do now. There we go, putting in some shadow. I went right away with some very bright colors in this one. Usually I would build up a little bit slower for a more realistic piece, but I wanted this to look like sort of an abstract expression of a creature from beyond the limits of human understanding, you know? He's breaking out from that wall, but you don't know quite what he is, so this is just your brain's interpretation of what this monster would look like. I don't know, I love a good Lovecraftian horror monster. Here's little mouth tentacles. I really wanted those mouth tentacles to be like slightly draped over top of the wall. I thought that was really cool. It was really fun to be able to start out so brightly colored, so vibrant. I don't often get to do that. It was a lot of fun. And some of this background bits I didn't have any sort of plan for. I just experimented, I guess, saw what came of it. But I wanted him to look bright and dark at the same time. That was my conception, that he was bright and dark at the same time, and I think he turned out true to that original idea. But I think you should do this too. You should make something that you don't have a real formal plan for. You should just have some fun and throw some colors down. It's important sometimes, I think. It's liberating to not always be bound by a really strict plan. Because I do get bound up in plans sometimes, as I'm sure some of you do too. Plan a little too long, think about it a little too hard. But this was an exercise in just putting down colors and having some fun, and I think that was important. You should do it too. Have fun with your art. If you find yourself not having enough fun with your art, then stop and do something abstract. Now I'm adding in some shadows here because I didn't want it to look like just a neon blob. I want it to look like he's got like little mouth tentacles going on, so you gotta add some dimension there, some tone contrast, even in my abstract pieces. Just throw in some shade. Not to speak ill of my Lovecraft monster here. I'm not throwing metaphorical shade. I'm throwing literal tone shade. Thank you very much. Oh, look at this stretchy eye. Like, I like his big eye that he's looking at you with, but I think I particularly like the second eye that you can't actually see. It's got that stretchy, viscous goop, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what that is, how it turned out. But I like that one, I think, even better because of the mystery, because you can't see the eye, you know? Maybe he's missing that eye. Maybe he hung himself from a tree like Odin and gained the wisdom of the universe. You don't know. You don't know this monster's backstory. Don't assume. He could be very intelligent. Now I'm just adding in some more shadows. I wanted to make sure that even amidst this vibrant color field, there was still a darker shadowy bit around the edges so that it looked like he was receding back into the wall. You understand? Now here's his fingers. I couldn't decide if I wanted his fingers to look humanoid because I really enjoyed the contrast of that compared to the rest of him, or if I wanted it to be more of a demon claw. And for this particular one, I went with the humanish fingers just because when I first envisioned it, it was with those very square, blocky, humanish fingers, so I decided to keep that in. Maybe if I ever did this one again, I'd make it more monster claws, or maybe I'd put some tiny green veins or tentacles or something running through those humanish fingers to give them a humanish look, but also not. Maybe that'd be cool. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments about those human fingers. But the human fingers were very basic. I wanted them to look, again, like I said before, kind of graphic, a little bit like a cartoon character. So I did some very basic shading for those fingers, mostly in tones of pink, I think. Some little bit of shadows on those nails, a little bit to delineate where the knuckles are in the finger. Just some very basic shading. You'll find if you want to draw something, it's not the main focus of your picture, but it's just like a hand or a finger or something a little bit in the background, that you can start out with just some very simple form shading, shading around the edges of your object to give it depth, and then shading a little bit where there's going to be wrinkles or creases. You can just give little subtle bits of shading, and that'll really be all you need for a hand or a finger that's not the main focus of a picture. Now I'm going in with my darker tones here. I gotta get some darker casts in there. I was having trouble getting the vibrant purple color I wanted. My purples kept blending in with some other tones and coming out a little grayer that I wanted, so I had to really work to build up that violet color that I wanted in there. But it came together in the end. Where are we at now? Oh, almost through. 3/4 of the way through. This guy is so crazy looking. Look at him glaring at me like that. Glare. It's okay, monster. You can hang out with me. We can be friends. I like to imagine that I could always be friends with the crazy horrors that come out of the dark. When I was a kid, I always imagined making friends with all the monsters you see in monster movies. I doubt they would have wanted to be my friend, but I suppose you can always dream. Here he is coming together. Got some brighter tones in there. I really love those tentacles, especially that one in the middle that's resting on the wall. Oh man, that's just how I wanted it. Little floopy tentacle. I wanted to make... He was looking so bright. I wanted him to look a little darker, a little more mysterious around the edges, so I started throwing in some nice dark ink or watercolor. I still can't remember what it is I'm actually using here. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I really wanted some dark tones because I wanted him to look a little scary coming out of the wall. And he was very technicolor for a little while. I needed some darker contrast in that work, so I'm just throwing down I'm going to go ahead and say ink at this point. I think I started out with watercolor, but I think oh, you can see in the video, how silly of me, I have my ink right there. Alright, I'm definitely using ink, you guys. Filling in some dark spots, making that eye really pop out. There, he's starting to look a little more ominous. Now. That eye is so cool. What a cool eye. I should get some inks out and draw just a really big electric blue eye. That would be fun. Eyes are fun once you get the basics down. I think I'm gonna have a video coming up about how to paint an eye. And once you get the anatomy of an eye really down, once you practice it a few times, then drawing eyes is one of the most fun thing to do in any sort of portrait or animal art. Anything with eyes, really. Because once you get those eyes down really well, everything else just sort of pops out. Not that you can tell in this drawing particularly, his eye is a little strange compared to your regular eye. What am I doing? Ooh, oh, those are red tones. I've got some nice solid red shadows in there. That made those fingers really pop out nice. They were looking a little too bland, a little too monotone. That shading really popped them up. Making sure I got some nice shadowy edges down there. You want to look like he's receding into the wall. Looks like I dripped a little bit of red ink over there. That's okay. Maybe I should add more splatters just so it looks more purposeful. Taking off my tape. Look at you. Don't you look cool, Monster Wall? There he is. There's my head all in there. Drying him off, framing him up with my ink pens. He turned out really cool. I quite like my monster wall concept. I don't think this is going to go into my current batch of murals that I'm working on, but I really quite enjoyed him, so maybe someday someone will want a mural like this one, and he can end up being a useful bit of concept art. Oh, see, I couldn't get quite as vibrant as I wanted over all the blacks that I put down, so I think I got in a little bit of acrylic paints here at the very end. Yeah, there's a couple of nice acrylic highlights. Some people are very puritanical about mixing medias. They like to have everything be watercolor, everything be ink, but I really love just throwing in all sorts of stuff. In this drawing alone, I guess I have ink pens and watercolors and colored India inks, and now I've got a little bit of acrylic highlighting going on here at the very end. So this is a multimedia extravaganza of a drawing. I love throwing more than one media into a piece of work. It's just so much fun. So much fun. Definitely do it. Don't be limited by what people say your art should be. Explore art. That's my saying, I guess. And there he is, my monster wall. He looks so cool, I think. He's just peering out at you like that. Well, anyway, thank you guys for coming along with me and watching my cool monster wall painting. I hope you liked it. If you decide to draw your own abstract Lovecraftian monsters, please let me know. I'd love to see them. And if you liked my video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video, and maybe even share it with your friends if you feel the need. Anyway, thank you again, and I hope to see you during my next art video. Goodbye.